Before we begin this unforgettable story, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. Stories like this remind us that kindness can appear in the most unexpected places, and you won't want to miss our next emotional journey. The cold autumn wind swept through the streets of Manhattan as Emily Carter pulled her thin coat tighter around her shoulders. Just a year ago, she had been a respected nurse at one of the city's busiest hospitals. Patients loved her. Doctors trusted her. She had spent countless nights saving lives, comforting frightened families, and putting others before herself. But life had a cruel way of changing everything in a matter of months. First came her mother's illness, draining every dollar Emily had saved. Then came the hospital downsizing. Despite years of loyal service, she lost her job. After her mother passed away, unpaid bills piled up faster than she could manage. Eventually, she lost her apartment. Now, at 32 years old, Emily found herself sitting on a sidewalk with nothing but a duffel bag filled with a few clothes and memories of a life that seemed impossible to reclaim. As she stared at the bright lights of luxury buildings surrounding her, she wondered how someone who had dedicated her life to helping others could end up completely alone. Several blocks away, Daniel Harrison, CEO of Harrison Technologies, stood in the penthouse office of his skyscraper overlooking the city. At only 38 years old, he was one of the most successful businessmen in America. His company was worth billions. He owned luxury homes, expensive cars, and had every material comfort money could buy. Yet none of it brought him peace. 3 years earlier, his wife had died unexpectedly in a tragic accident, leaving him to raise their young daughter Sophia alone. Since then, Daniel's world had revolved around work and fatherhood. He loved Sophia more than anything, but he often felt lost trying to be both father and mother. Sophia had become quiet and withdrawn. The laughter that once filled their home had disappeared. No matter how many toys, vacations, or gifts he provided, nothing seemed to heal the emptiness in his daughter's heart. Deep down, Daniel knew she didn't need more things. She needed love, warmth, and a nurturing presence that he alone couldn't provide. That evening, Daniel left work earlier than usual to attend Sophia's school event. As his driver navigated the city streets, traffic suddenly came to a halt near a crowded intersection. Bored, Daniel glanced out the window. His eyes landed on a woman sitting near a street lamp. Despite her worn clothes and exhausted appearance, there was something different about her. She wasn't begging. She wasn't asking for money. Instead, she was helping an elderly homeless man wrap a blanket around his shoulders. Even with almost nothing herself, she was still caring for someone else. Intrigued, Daniel continued watching. When the old man thanked her, Emily smiled gently. It was the same compassionate smile she had given countless patients throughout her nursing career. Something about that moment stayed with Daniel. For reasons he couldn't explain, he instructed his driver to stop. Emily looked up in surprise as a luxury car pulled over. She expected someone to tell her to move along. Instead, a tall man in an expensive coat stepped out and approached her. "Excuse me," Daniel said politely. Emily immediately became cautious. Wealthy strangers rarely stopped to talk to homeless women. "Can I help you?" she asked. Daniel studied her face. Despite her hardship, there was dignity in her eyes. "I saw what you did for that man," he said. "Most people would have walked past." Emily shrugged. "He needed help." Daniel smiled faintly. "And what about you? Don't you need help too?" For a moment, Emily considered giving the polite answer she always gave. But exhaustion overcame pride. "Yes," she admitted quietly. "I do." Their conversation lasted only a few minutes, but Daniel learned more than he expected. Emily told him about her nursing career, her mother's illness, and the events that had led her to homelessness. She spoke honestly without asking for pity. Daniel was struck by her resilience. Most people in her situation would have become bitter. Instead, she still cared about others. Meanwhile, Emily couldn't understand why this stranger seemed genuinely interested in her story. As they talked, Daniel's phone buzzed. A picture of Sophia appeared on the screen. Emily noticed the sadness in the little girl's eyes. "Your daughter?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "She's my entire world." Emily smiled softly. "She's beautiful." Daniel hesitated before speaking again. Then, in a moment that would change both their lives forever, he said something unexpected. "You need a home, and I need a mom for my daughter." Emily blinked in shock. She was certain she had misunderstood him. "What?" she asked. Daniel took a deep breath. "I know how this sounds. I'm not proposing marriage. I'm not asking for anything inappropriate. My daughter needs someone kind in her life. Someone who knows how to care for people. Someone who can help bring warmth back into our home. You need a place to stay and a chance to rebuild your life. Maybe we can help each other." Emily stared at him, unsure whether to laugh, walk away, or cry. The offer seemed impossible. Yet something about Daniel's sincerity made her pause. He wasn't looking at her with pity. He was looking at her with respect. The next day, Emily found herself standing in front of the enormous Harrison mansion. She had spent the entire night debating whether to accept Daniel's invitation. Part of her feared it was a mistake. Another part desperately wanted a second chance. When the front door opened, a little girl peeked out. Sophia's large eyes met Emily's. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then Sophia quietly said, "Daddy said you're a nurse." Emily nodded. "I was." Sophia smiled faintly. "My mommy was kind too." Those simple words nearly broke Emily's heart. She knelt down and gently replied, "Then she must have been very special." For the first time in years, Sophia smiled genuinely. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Emily became a steady presence in the Harrison household. She helped Sophia with schoolwork, listened to her stories, and comforted her when she missed her mother. Slowly, Sophia's laughter returned. The mansion that had once felt cold and empty began to feel like a home again. Daniel watched in amazement as his daughter transformed. But something else changed too. Emily's confidence returned. Daniel arranged interviews with hospitals, and before long, she secured a nursing position. The homeless nurse who had lost everything was rebuilding her future one step at a time. As months passed, the bond between Daniel and Emily deepened. What began as an unusual arrangement evolved into genuine friendship and eventually something neither had expected: love. They discovered that both carried scars from loss, yet together they found healing. Daniel realized wealth could buy comfort but not happiness. Emily learned that even after life's darkest moments, hope could still appear when least expected. One snowy evening, as Sophia played in the garden, Daniel turned to Emily and smiled. "You know," he said, "I thought I was rescuing you that night." Emily squeezed his hand and replied, "Maybe we rescued each other." And so, the lonely CEO, the homeless nurse, and the little girl who needed a mother's love became a family not because of money, status, or circumstance, but because kindness brought them together when they needed it most. Their story became proof that sometimes the greatest miracles begin with a simple act of compassion. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Your support helps bring more inspiring stories of hope, love, and second chances to life.